Minister, I want to draw your attention to a fault in the system of what we call the post-primary schools common application system, which exists in Limerick. But first I want to say that by and large the system does work pretty well. It sees 6th class students put down 9 schools in order of their preference, and they usually get offered a place in one of these schools. The system is, I understand, is unique to Limerick and tries to do away with the class-based issues that have unfortunately still exist across, particularly in the city. However, it clearly does not work for everyone. Every applicant has to put down 9 schools in order of their preference. Often many of the 9 schools put in the application will be totally unsuitable due to their location or other reasons, but they have to put down 9 schools. One family got in touch with me last week in a rightly stressed state about the situation they found themselves in. The child in question submitted his application for secondary school place like all his other friends, but then last Wednesday he received 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 rejection letters from all the schools in his application form. He also received a letter telling him there was no place for him in any of those schools. He was asked to apply to 2 schools he hadn't put on his list, and which are not in the area. One is 30 kilometres away, one is 27 kilometres away, and one was included in those rejection letters. As you can imagine, the child was the only child in his school who wasn't able to, who didn't get a school acceptance letter. He was very distraught. He didn't know what to tell his friends. When they asked him what school he got, he couldn't answer because he had no school. So can you imagine a 12-year-old child getting 9 rejection letters and with no offer of a school? His mother, as you can imagine, was really upset and distressed about it, and she didn't know what to tell her son. They also received a letter which was very distressing to them from the Limerick Education Centre referring to their son, stroke ward, as in ward of court, which is totally unacceptable and added to the family stress. Minister, is simply not acceptable, and I would ask you to contact them directly to ensure that no similar letters are ever sent again using the word ward to families that doesn't apply to. These rejection letters included his first choice school, which his family can literally see from the front door of his house. And I know that well because I know the family, I know exactly where they live, and I know the school. And of which his primary school is a feeder school of as well, so he shouldn't have been refused anyway. No young child should ever get 9 rejection letters and no offer of a place and be left frankly searching for a solution. This is why I'm raising the topical question in the hope that changes will be made to ensure that this doesn't happen again. It's a problem in itself that students have to put down 9 schools in the first place, as some of these schools, as I told you, are 30 to 40 minutes outside of Limerick City. And if a child is offered a place in one of these schools, this causes huge problems getting to and from those schools. It then places a massive burden on parents, as I said, to try and get their kids out and back to these schools while trying to go to work themselves. I've been closely working with the family and the child's primary school, as they were very anxious that this was brought to your attention as soon as possible. Hopefully something can be done for this child and his family to ensure that he gets one of his choices. I appreciate that not every child will get their first choice school, but to receive 9 rejection letters and no offer of place in secondary school is disgraceful and should never be allowed to happen again. To clarify, I don't want to see the system abolished. It was brought in for a good reason, and by and large it works well. However, something needs to be done to ensure this situation doesn't happen again. No child should ever experience this ever again. And if the Minister could clarify if he's aware of these issues in the system and outline if we can do something to ensure it doesn't happen again.
The Minister is 4 minutes. Minister.
Just like to thank the Deputy for putting down this question, and I know it is a very difficult issue for the young student concerned and also his family, so I appreciate that as well, and I'll be happy to get the details afterwards and we can follow up directly. But just give a wee bit of background for the purpose of public record of the system. It's a very good system overall, and I agree with you, Deputy, in relation to its overall benefits and coordination, but obviously if things can be improved, everybody's open to that in that space as well. Thank you for the opportunity to outline to the House the position in relation to the common application system for children entering secondary school in Limerick. The Deputy may be aware and will be aware that a common application system was agreed between the post-primary schools in the Limerick area. This system has been in place since 2005 The Common Application System is a process by which the admission process for 6th class primary school children wishing to enrol in the participate in post-primary schools is managed locally. There are currently 17 post-primary schools participating in the system. This administrative system ensures that a coordinated approach can be taken to the enrolment process of the schools in the area. This system is facilitated through the Limerick Education Centre on behalf of the Limerick Principal and Deputy Principals Association, with support from my department, and to date has been working very well. The Limerick Education Centre meets with the Limerick Principals and Deputy Principals Association twice annually to review the system. On average, the centre manages between 1,750 and 1,900 applications annually, and they liaise with 17 post-primary schools and over 140 primary schools. Data from the system indicates that 97.5% of children received their first, second or third choice of school for the 19 and 20 school year. Over 95% of pupils received their first choice. Whilst this administrative system ensures that a coordinated approach can be taken to enrolment process in the area, each school authority involved in the Limerick CAS has, in accordance with the Education Act 1998, autonomy in relation to its own enrolment policy and the specific selection criteria it applies. This may result in some pupils not obtaining a place in the school of their first choice. The criteria to be applied by schools in such circumstances are a matter for the schools themselves. This selection process and the enrolment policy on which it is based must be non-discriminatory and must be applied fairly in respect of all applicants. Section 29 of the Education Act 98 provides for an appeal by a parent or guardian to the Secretary-General of my department, or in the case of an Education and Training Board school, to the ETB in the first instance, where a board of management of a school or a person acting on behalf of the board refuses to enrol a student in a school. An appeal should be made within 42 calendar days of receipt of the board of management's decision. This appeals process is also available to any applicant using the Limerick CAS system who has been refused enrolment to a school. The Admission Act was signed into law in 2018. The Act, on commencement of the relevant sections, will also require schools to enrol a child where the school has places. The Act will help to support the admission processes in schools and provide greater transparency, which will help parents with their understanding of how they will work. My department has begun the process of consultation with the education partners on the regulations that will be put in place alongside the commencement of sections of the Education Admissions to Schools Act 2018. So just once again, Deputy, I know maybe we'll get a chance to speak after.
Okay, supplementary. 2 minutes. 2 minutes, Deputy.
Thank you, Minister, for your response, and can I thank your officials today who I spoke to from your department who've been assisting me on the issue. And I'm pretty sure, as I said earlier, the system is unique to Limerick and that no similar schools application system operates in other parts of the country. But if they do, I think it's probably worth looking into them as well. Now, I do agree it works pretty well, but I would be concerned the issue I raised to you today that some child next year will get an 9 rejection letters. That shouldn't happen, and I think what we need to do is, I think it's important for your department to engage with the Limerick Education Centre to ensure that they have the resources they need to administer this common application system and see if the department can help iron out these problems. Finishing primary school, as we said earlier, and going into secondary school should be an exciting time for kids, and certainly not as stressful as this has been. The outcome of this must be that no child gets 9 rejection letters and is left frantically searching for somewhere to go for secondary school. And again, I want to thank the Minister for coming in here today and listening to the concerns from parents and schools in Limerick, and I hope he can introduce some of the small changes that need to ensure this doesn't happen again. Oh my God.
Thanks. Minister McHugh, to conclude.
Briefly, last Corla, just once again, yeah, I'm happy to take the details, and the transition from primary school to secondary school is hard enough in itself. It's a big step up, and to get 9 letters of rejection certainly is something that is not in keeping with the smooth flow from transition from primary to secondary. And just to reassure the Deputy that once I get the details, I'll follow up directly with my officials in this matter. And just as well, you talked about the uniqueness of the system, and from my own research into it, it's an incredible system. 17 post-primary schools, 140 primary schools, and that level of coordination and trying to get the right fit, and to hear the percentage returns where 95% of the students get their first choice. It's an incredible percentage, but we also have to be careful that the 4 or 5 or 1% or one person, we have to be thinking about that as well. And maybe from just further inspection here, we can find a way through this. I'd be confident that we'll be able to do that. Thanks, Las Cumcorla.